So welcome guys back to the Universal Plywood channel. Today we're going to show you how to make an outdoor table. Now a lot of people think that making an outdoor table is as easy as licking your own elbow, but believe me, it's actually much more possible than you think. Now some people think that the Universal Plywood channel is all about plywood, and guess what? No, it's not really all just about plywood, because they also stock some other cool products, one of which we used in a previous video. In fact, we just shot a video about using something called Siberian larch, so go check out that video. There's a link to it somewhere here, wherever you can find the link. Another kind of timber that they have at Universal Plywoods is something called Lunawood, and it's specifically made for outdoor applications. What's cool about it is it's got a very low moisture content, so it's very stable. It's treated so the bugs won't go into it because there's nothing really for them to eat there, and the truth is it's like a seriously low maintenance timber. So you can put this outside, you can leave it to go grey, you can put finish on it, whatever floats your boat. We're going to make a table. We're going to show you a couple of little tricks on how to put a table together. Let's get straight into it and I'll show you guys how this gets done. So you've just seen us cut that on the router table. Now, for those of you that weren't paying attention, that's you, wake up, hey, come, pay attention now. For those of you who were asleep when that was happening, let me break it down, make it simple for you. Basically what we did here was we used our leg down on the router table and we cut a groove up to a certain point, and we used a stop block on the router table to do that because we know how far to go, because we knew how deep our tenon was going to be. Okay, so to break it down, we're going to cut the tenon on the table saw first, then we're going to use the groove over here to marry these two things. We're going to cut this to the right depth. Again, we're going to go super slow for all you guys that aren't paying attention. Okay, so get with the program. Watch out, this is how it's going to happen. Okay. So what we have, if you look nice and closely, we have this part that is not being cut and those three parts that have been cut. We're going to turn these into the cheeks of a shoulder joint. Okay, so here's where we head over to the bandsaw and we cut up to that point, and up to that point over there. So we're going to cut a three-sided tenon, not a four-sided tenon. Again, because this is going to stay here and become the top of our flush joint that's going to be flush to the top of our leg. Okay, so we're going to head over to the bandsaw, we're going to cut that, then we're going to pay some attention to the leg, and then put this baby together. Super simple. Like really, it's not hard. So we're over at the bandsaw now. We're going to cut our three sides, and this is how we do it. kind of like complains for a while after it's been working. So this over here is our three-sided tenon. So if you have a look at how this looks now, you'll notice that I've got one cheek, two cheeks, three cheeks, or three shoulders rather, shoulder, shoulder, and shoulder, but I don't have a shoulder on top because that there is going to be the top of our joint. Right, now what I need to do to check my accuracy is to go and grab my router bit and make sure that this is the same width as my router bit. So I'm going to grab that. Don't even go away because I'm going to go right here. See, I'm back. I promise I didn't lie to you. Okay, let's have a look here and see. Oh, we're a little bit bigger than my router bit. So what we can do is we're just going to nudge this over on the fence. We dial this in here. We just nudge that over and we just take off a hair. And now we can see that our router bit and our tenon is the same size. Here's the cool part about what we're going to do here. So that is our tenon. That's going to drop down into our leg. Now, when we cut the groove with this guy, we're going to cut him. In other words, I'm going to cut the depth of this. So this bit needs to be longer than what this is going to be deep. So in this case it is, because you can see I've still got plenty blade left. I'm going to cut a groove that deep into my leg. So I can't do it in one go. I'm going to probably step cut it, go like 1, 2, 3 cuts to get up to that height. And I'm going to set a fence up on my router table so that I know I'm only going as far as from there to there. Then here's the cool part. This part over here is where the joint is going to rest. It's actually going to rest at the end of the cut. When I get to this, you'll see that'll be the end of the cut. It'll rest flush on there like that. So it's kind of like a really perfect way to get it to fit nice and neatly. And that essentially will be a mortise and tenon joint done the simple way. Now, you don't need one of these fancy bandsaws. You can do this by hand. Just requires a little bit of practice, but you can cut that one, and that one all by hand very, very easily. So now let's head over to the router table, set this guy up, and do a step cut until we have something where these two things fit together perfectly. Okay, then I'll show you guys up close exactly how this joint works, because that's the magic. It's how to do this kind of stuff nice and it's repeatable. So once you've got this set up, it's fully repeatable. Like you can just do them all the same. You still with me? Wake up. Let's go. Okay, so let me talk you through the setup. Again, a lot of this seems more complicated than it is. It really isn't actually that complicated. It's very, very simple. I'm going to talk through the height setting in just a second, but let's just talk about the depth setting. So what I want to do is I'm going to run a groove, or in here basically a mortise in this direction down to a certain point. Now that point has to correlate or coincide with this bit over here. So in other words, I have to cut the distance down that leg of from there to there. How do I set that up? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the back of this piece up with the back of the router bit, and this front edge is where I'm going to put my stop block, my very complicated high-tech stop block made out of a block of wood and a clamp. Okay, so I'm just going to line that up with the back of that cut, and I'm going to make sure, there it is, that the front of this stop block is in line with that. And there it is, you can see that's perfectly in line, and that's perfectly in line. So that is great. Now I have a joint that will be as deep as from there to there. When I push this other piece through it, when I push this piece through, I'm going to push through until this contacts that, and I know that I'm at the right depth. Now, how do I get the height right? I'm glad you asked, because I can show you. All I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to cut until this, I can lift this bit in several passes until it touches that shoulder. Once I know I've touched that shoulder, I know that I've cut deep enough to accept the entire tenon into what will be the three-sided mortise. So it's like that simple. There are more simple things in the world, but not many. Right, so let's cut this. We're going to do this in stages. It's quite a big bit and it's quite chunky wood, so we're going to go slowly. No sense in trying to do it all in one go. Don't try and eat the whole elephant in one bite. Just nibble away at it. Do it slowly, take your time, keep things stable and accurate, and you'll be golden. All right, let's crack on. Here, what you can see up close is our rounded mortise that's at our correct depth. Here is our tenon, three-sided, a joint that fits perfectly. Okay, so now if you come up close, what you can see is a perfectly flush, perfectly centered, correct depth joint into this leg. Now, what I love about this method of joinery is that I know that my strength is not only in this direction, it's also down. This piece can't move in this direction anymore because it's now sitting on a ledge. The shoulder on the inside is sitting at the bottom of that half round hole. This is a nice tight fit. With the right glue, that there will absolutely never ever come out. So that's really brilliant, simple joinery. That's nice and flush. My tabletop sits over there and covers all that up. This is achievable with a router and a handsaw, or a router and a table saw. In fact, it's also achievable, if you're prepared to really test your skills, it's achievable by using a chisel and a handsaw, and you can do it. You can use a handsaw to cut this bit, and if you just do a little bit of careful chiseling, you can chisel this out with a chisel. All right, cool. So we've done that part. Now let's get straight into a glue up. Why waste time? We know that it's accurate. Let's get it glued up and get it done. Okay, so now you're asking, what about finishing it? That's the cool part about this stuff. You don't need to actually put finish on it because it is already treated. In other words, it's been baked, so it is pretty weatherproof. However, if you want to put a finish on it, there's no reason why you can't. And you can use all kinds of finishes. You can use water-based finishes, you can use oil-based finishes, you can use all kinds of cool finishes. And it doesn't really matter which ones you use because they will all work equally well on this stuff. So, if you're looking for a different color, yes, you can stain it. If you're looking for a finish that can handle more spills, then try some of the Osmo products. If you want to know more about Osmo, there's a link to an Osmo video about Osmo somewhere here. Have a look at it. Like I say, if you leave this like this and you leave it outside, it's going to go nice and gray, develop some character. Personally, I think finish is a good idea, so you could put some finish on if you liked. Water-based, solvent-based, doesn't really matter. Experiment, try. This isn't a very expensive exercise. It really is a simple, quick thing to do. So, like I said, get out there and play.